Human-computer interaction is the discipline of designing, implementing and evaluating interactive systems so that we can support humans as they go about doing their job. I've always thought about it as trying to augment a human's creativity and make their jobs easier, faster, more interesting. But quite often I've noticed you go in to try and support someone and create a software system that will help them, and you end up changing their jobs, hopefully for the better, but sometimes for the worst, which is kind of difficult. And I do see that a lot now. Previously, I would be sitting there as a computer scientist and I would have learned the language to interact and create graphical user interfaces so my human could have a dialogue with the computer to achieve some sort of end goal. As computers have moved on, we are now moving into we use computers just for pleasure, like gaming and chatting to people, or online shopping, or just Skyping or whatever, and we try and make it all as easy as possible so that people can just get on with what they want to do without being bogged down in the computing or having to learn a load of code. When the web came around in the 90s, it was kind of like people were online monologuing, because it was very much one way you put stuff out, and then it was only later on that it came back. And now you've got the model of where you're broadcasting to lots of people, like me today, and you don't know who you're talking to, which is kind of fascinating. It's like a mass social observation project that we're going through, rather like the one in World War II, where people kept a diary throughout the country and their experiences of war, which is a fascinating document. And we are recording everything now, which is kind of cool. And hopefully, as we record everything, we'll get some insight from all the data that we're collecting and use that to feed back and to improve everything technologically. Tim Berners-Lee set up the World Wide Web. The idea was to connect computer to computer to computer and share universal documents for everybody. However, we've traded in the difficulty and complexities of setting up our computer to speak peer-to-peer. We've elected middlemen, Google, Facebook, you name it, and they take all our data. In return, we get easy access, good interfaces, so that we can get on doing the thing we need to do. And we're becoming less user, more used. They collect our data, and then, like all good middlemen, they advertise to us, they sell our data. And we have to see if ultimately this is going to be detrimental. And we don't really know what's going on. And some of the fundamentals of HCI, I mean, there's loads of different rules and guidelines and design practices that are brilliant. But I do think in this day and age, HCI needs to be looking at trust, because I've worked and designed software for people who've got to, it's critical that the software works correctly and produces the right results, like engineers and architects. And so these people, these practitioners, will not use a piece of software they don't trust. So trust is important. We also need to be looking at, what does intimacy mean, what does privacy mean online, and how do we make sure that we can model that correctly. And also psychological responsibility. This is a term bandied about in IT security, but I think it's relevant for online and being secure and safe online. These are really important areas that HCI should be addressing. HCI was always about, is it easy to use? Are you giving your user a good experience? Which we are doing now, but are we using our user? One of the seminal papers in computing was Licklider's The Symbiosis of Man and Computer. And he used the example of a fig leaf and a lava bug and how one can't live without the other. And at the time it was just demonstrating how we could use technology for good, but now it just sounds codependent and slightly scary. and not a healthy model to be modelling our technology on. We shouldn't be codependent, because there is no codependency. We are dependent on technology. I damaged my phone, and I didn't have a phone for a couple of weeks, and I was trying to see if I could go through the world without it, but I couldn't use my parking app to park my car. I couldn't. The dentist, was it the doctors? Somebody cancelled an appointment, and I didn't know. I turned up for it, and it just went on endlessly. All the things I couldn't do, and that's not how I should be able to still function in my life without technology, and that's currently not the case. So we need to be looking at that. It's not just about providing good experiences anymore. We have to look at, can I still live my life without my phone? My boiler is the case in point. I can't, when I drop my phone, I'd get in the shower, the water would run cold because it didn't know I was in the house. It wouldn't switch the hot water on for me. Kind of go like, can I not just, my old boiler did not need this amount of information. It did not pass things across the internet. I just think we're going a tiny bit backwards rather than forwards. I just think putting everything online adds to a certain amount of complexity, and yet more data centres and data collection. I think data centres are the new landfills, aren't they? They're currently building them in really cool places in order to save on air conditioning costs. And you kind of go, is this a good use of technology? I'm not certain that it is, but technology is an extension of us, and while it brings many great things, HEI has got to ask the difficult questions like, is this necessary? Is this useful? Is this supporting and enriching someone's life, or is it just setting them backwards and frustrating them? And if it is frustrating them, then we need to sort that out. Human computer interaction has been a great field for me to work in for many years, and it's constantly expanding and changing, which keeps it super exciting. But I do think at the moment we're in that strange phase whereby we think, again, everything is progress when it's not necessarily. I had a chat this morning with a consultant in a hospital who said, people are now having surgeries assisted with robotics, and the evidence is not there yet that the robotics actually help, but everyone feels like they should do it because there's a lot of dogma, and you've got to keep up with the latest technologies, and it's again down to humans having strange perceptions of what's actually going on, and that progress is always the best thing, the latest thing's always the best thing, and until we collect data and use it usefully, instead of just selling our data, if we just use it usefully, then we can find out and create once more software systems which support people to make their lives better and more convenient, not more complex. Alright, thank you.